Hello and welcome back to CEO.CA. Today, I'm excited to be joined by André Tessier, President and CEO of Delta Resources. They trade on the Venture Exchange under the ticker DLTA. André, thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me, James.
So maybe if we could kick things off with a quick overview of Delta for our viewers, could you give us the 30-second elevator pitch? What are the key facts people need to know?
Well, Delta started operating in 2019. We quickly acquired 2 properties in 2019. And Delta One, our flagship property, basically we acquired it in October and drilled it in November for the first time. Since then, we've drilled 35,000 meters at the Delta One property and outlined immediately adjacent to the Trans-Canada Highway a deposit that we feel is getting into, or has the potential at least to be a multi-million ounce deposit right at surface.
Fantastic. And that's the Eureka gold deposit?
That is the Eureka gold deposit, correct.
Great. Can you go into a bit more detail on that particular deposit? What work has been done to date? How did you define it? And maybe what are some of the next steps?
All right. Listen, we outlined a mineralized zone. Again, it's within 100 meters of the Trans-Canada Highway, just south of the highway. In fact, the highway sort of contours the deposit because it's a topographic high, because of alteration. So the deposit so far, we've outlined over about 2.5 kilometers of strike length, right from surface to about 300 meters vertical. It's anywhere between 10 to 85 meters of true width. And so we've defined this through drilling. So far, we have a bit over 35,000 meters of drilling onto the deposit itself. So far, the deposit is pretty much all that we've explored at the property scale. And we've defined at the end of 2023, with about 25,000 meters of drilling at that point. We had defined a block model. So we did our homework. We verified to see what sort of deposit that we had at the time. And at that time, we defined 2 kilometers of strike length, which we have now extended to 2.5 kilometers. So the deposit that, basically what we did is the exact same methodology as what you would do for a 43-101 resource estimate. But in our case, because we only had at the time 25,000 meters of drilling over 2 kilometers of strike length, our drill spacing was a little bit wider than what we needed to be a resource, a true 43-101 resource estimate. Despite that, we did the work the same way, capped everything at 10 grams per ton gold and used a 0.3 grams per ton cutoff grade. And we've defined what the TSX wants us to call a target, because it's not 43-101, but we've defined a target that would be anywhere between 1.2 million ounce at 1.37 grams per ton gold to 2.2 million ounces at 1.05 grams per ton gold. And again, that's right at surface. There is a core to the deposit that would be higher grade than that, where we've drilled a little bit tighter. We know the zone is at its widest there, right at surface. So, in terms of if and when this thing will ever, become mined, and we feel it will eventually, that would be a great starter pit that would, pay back very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, when you're looking ahead and thinking about, the different mining scenarios, certainly the location and the proximity to infrastructure will be, a key factor in keeping those costs down. I imagine it also keeps exploration costs quite low. I guess my question is, when you're so close to Trans-Canada Highway and Thunder Bay, why do you think nobody had spotted this deposit before?
Well, that's the real question. We're not, we're glad nobody did. And you're right. It's a 45-minute drive from Thunder Bay. Because it sits on a topographic high, one would think that, it would have been discovered, but it wasn't. So, to Delta's benefit. And as you mentioned, the capex should be kept at a minimum because it's so close to infrastructure, so close to town, and in terms of permitting, again, because we're right next to the highway, it's not an area that's pristine. So it's been, there's been some disturbance there. So permitting should be fairly rapid. So yeah, we're pretty excited about this deposit, and having had the attention of a few intermediates and major producers, the deposit's been called pretty sexy in terms of capex.
I don't think those words have ever been used in the same sentence, but I love the sentiment. I guess I want to talk, you just announced today, the next phase of exploration there from 2024 into 2025. Walk us through what are the goals of this campaign? What are the timelines? What can people expect you to get out?
All right. Well, one of the exciting development that we've had recently. So the deposit is still our focus, but what we've found is we've looked at the rest of the greenstone belt, the Shabandawan greenstone belt, where we're located, and we've identified areas with very, very similar geological setting as the current Eureka gold deposit. And so what we've done is we've acquired a number of properties, all contiguous to the deposit. We currently have over 30,000 hectares of property. Property is 37 kilometers long by about 15 kilometers wide. So it's a huge land package with amazing potential. We've outlined 2 or 3 structures in the southern portion of the property that, again, have the exact same geological setting as Eureka. Those we now own about 35 kilometers of strike length of each of these structures. We've also acquired a property just to the northwest of Eureka that has historical resources that total about 250,000 ounces at much higher grade in the neighborhood of 5 to 6 grams per ton gold. So, all of this huge package needs to be explored. Our next phase will be to not only try to augment the gold inventory at the Eureka gold deposit, but we want to show proof of concept that, these structures to the south are also mineralized. We already know there's some gold endowment there, but, nobody's defined a deposit. And that's what we want to show the markets.
Yeah. And those southern structures, is it mostly going to be sampling work? Do you have a drill campaign planned? Surveying, what kind of work are we talking here? Well,
currently we're going through permitting, so we know it's going to take potentially a few months before we get our permits. But we've done some grassroots traversing and geological mapping. There's very recent geophysics that's already been done on the property, so we're going to take advantage of that. And then the plan is to, in the fall or early 2025, when we get all of our permitting, to get in there and poke a few holes in there and try to see what we've got.
Fantastic. Well, certainly looking forward to more updates from that program. I want to quickly touch Delta 2, the other kind of project or portfolio or project in your portfolio. What's the status of Delta 2? Are you actively working on that, or is Delta 1 the key focus of the
Delta 1 is our major focus for many reasons. We do feel that this is the property that has a chance to eventually become a mine. We feel that it's a property that holds the best potential for us, and we've kind of proven that. And third, our investors want us to focus on the Delta 1 property. So that's where all of our focus is right now.
Okay, fantastic. Well, just to wrap up, I know we've touched on what the next few months and into 2025 holds for Delta, but maybe looking a little bit further ahead, we've talked about, the possibility or probability even of this project becoming a mine in the future. What do you think needs to happen for those steps to kind of pan out and for as you mentioned, those kind of developers and majors who might be sniffing around to maintain and grow their interest in the project?
Well, I can't mention any of these companies because we are under CA with them, but we're not miners. Delta, we're very good explorers, but we're not miners. So the end game has always been to have a partnership with a major and have them eventually a major or an intermediate, a producer, and get them to mine the deposit, or to acquire a significant interest in Delta. We're not really interested in joint venturing at this point because when you joint venture, you slowly lose control of the property, and we want to keep that control. But we are very open to strategic investments by producers, and in the end, those producers are probably going to be the ones who are going to be hopefully mining this deposit.
Fantastic. Well, Andre, very interesting to hear about the work that is being done at Delta Resources currently, and sounds like there's lots of updates in the pipeline throughout the end of the year. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks very much. We do have a very exciting end of the year and early 2025. I'm looking forward to it myself.